Hey guys, so just got back from the cheap theater from seeing Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. I know I'm pretty late in the game in seeing this movie, and I know it's been out for a month, and I know there's probably a million reviews out there for this movie. And I figured I'd put my 2 cents in on this movie. Um, this was a movie that when it was at the movie theater I usually go to, I wasn't dying to go see this, and that mainly is because I know this is not a popular thing to say, but I'm gonna say it. I'm not a huge fan of the original Anchorman. I know, don't kill me. I mean, please don't kill me. I don't want people to start throwing garbage at me. If you love the movie, that's your opinion. I'm not gonna try to take that away from you. But I don't understand the appeal of that fucking movie. I think it's okay. I'll say that. It's just an okay comedy, but it's one of the most overrated comedies. People have overblown that movie to death. It's like how overblown Hangover has been over the last few years. People think that's one of the funniest movies ever made. Trust me, that movie isn't. That Hangover and Anchorman are two movies I like Hangover a lot better, but they're two movies that people make them out to be funnier than they are, in my opinion. It was a movie, actually. Anchorman was actually a movie that I saw it at the drive-in with my family, like back in 2004. That and we actually left halfway through it because we didn't care too much for it. And I actually did get around to watching the rest of it, and I eventually got around to kind of liking it a little bit more as I watched it over the years. But I still just thought it was okay. And so because of that, I wasn't exactly looking forward to this movie. I mean, thought trailers looked okay. There was some funny parts here and there. It looked like it was just going to be as funny as the other ones. And also, it's being directed by Adam McKay. Adam McKay is the co-collaborator with Will Ferrell on such movies as Anchorman, Step Brothers, and Talladega Nights. Those are three movies, in my opinion, that are very overrated comedies. And only one of those that actually I really didn't like was Step Brothers. I really disliked that movie, but the other two I thought were just bland, average kind of comedies that sometimes jokes worked and sometimes they didn't. That was one of my problems with Anchorman. It's like jokes either worked or they didn't. I will say that I kind of did like the other guys. Out of all of the movies they did together, the other guys is my favorite of theirs. I kind of made me kind of gain a little bit more hope that maybe Anchorman 2 was going to actually be pretty good. And you know what? I pretty much have the exact same opinion that I had with the first Anchorman that I have with this movie, and that this is just okay. It's not very good. There's nothing really that I hated about it. It's not the worst comedy I've ever seen. There are things that worked about it. There was also a lot of things that fell flat, in my opinion. There was a lot of jokes. One of my problems with this movie that I have with a lot of comedies like this that are just okay or not very good is that there was a lot of times where I was just sitting there not laughing. There was long periods of time. The couple that I was in the theater with really thought this movie was really funny, but I wasn't laughing as much as they were. Again, I don't get the appeal as much as a lot of people do. My generation does of this movie. I still don't. I mean, again, if you like these movies, that's your opinion, not mine, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. There are things, like I said, that I did think were good about this movie. I actually thought Will Ferrell was fine in this film. I'm a guy that Will Ferrell, in my opinion, is a hit and a miss. A lot lately, it's been over the last decade, it's been a lot of misses. But over the last couple of years, I've seen him in a couple of good comedies here and there. Campaign and Other Guys were two really funny movies, in my opinion. I actually like him in Campaign a lot. I thought he was really funny in that film. That was one of those movies that was a big surprise for me when that came out the campaign. But I like Will Ferrell. You want to know what my favorite Will Ferrell movie is? It still is Elf. Elf, in my opinion, is a movie I can watch over and over again. And he plays to his strengths in that movie, in my opinion. Will Ferrell is just having a blast. And this movie is all right. I didn't mind him much in this film. Um, he definitely loves playing this character. You can tell, and he's having fun doing it. I liked also David Koechner. Out of the three supporting characters in this movie, I thought he was the more entertaining of the three. Between him, Paul Rudd, and Steve Carell. He had some pretty funny lines. One of my favorite parts of this whole movie was the beginning where he get reintroduced to his character and you find out he has a chicken place or a chicken restaurant, and it's revealed that instead of cooking fried chicken, he's cooking fried bats. And it's pretty fucking. That revelation was pretty funny, and watching a bat fly out the window was kind of funny. And I forget, he tries to describe bats as chickens of the cave or something like that. It's a really funny line. Paul Rudd, even though I love Paul Rudd, doesn't really have much memorable stuff in it except for one line. I'll get in that where he's talking about my favorite line of this whole movie. One of my favorite lines of this whole movie is when he's talking when he and the rest of the crew gets fired originally gets fired from the 24-hour newscast, and he is telling them, "Oh, I'll be all right, guys." He says, "I'll just go hang out with my best friends, Robert Blake and O.J. Simpson." He says, "Oh," I think Will Ferrell goes, "Oh, those guys sound like really cool guys." He says, "Yeah, we call ourselves the Lady Killers." That was kind of funny. That made me chuckle. But other than that, there was nothing really memorable lines of his in this movie. And that was kind of a shame because I like Paul Rudd. I almost forgot half the time he was in this movie because a lot of the focus in this movie really is Steve Carell and Will Ferrell. David Koechner and Paul Rudd kind of just take a backseat to both of them. Which, at this point, both guys, Will Ferrell and Steve Carell, are big names. And so is Paul Rudd. At this point, he's gotten a big career at this point, and it's kind of weird that he kind of took a backseat. Now, one of the negatives is that one of the negatives that I have with this movie was that it takes one of my favorite comedians, Steve Carell, and makes me actually want him off my screen. There was a lot of points in this movie. There were stuff in Steve Carell that I liked, but there was also stuff that I could not stand, where I couldn't stand his character. Particularly when he had scenes with Kristen Wiig. I'm getting to this point where I can't stand Kristen Wiig. I used to love Kristen Wiig. Now I'm starting to jump on the bandwagon of I don't want to see Kristen Wiig in any more films if I could help it. Even in Despicable Me 2, I couldn't stand her. I know a lot of people that didn't like Despicable Me 2 because of her. And I'm starting to jump on that bandwagon pretty quickly. This movie does not fucking help because her character was really annoying. She takes the awkward, quirky characters that she always fucking plays and amps it to a 500 or 100, whatever the hell you want to say it. And it's really obnoxious, really annoying. And then you add the scenes with her and Steve Carell, and he's basically playing the male version of her, even though he plays that kind of character a lot better. And he still kind of comes off annoying. And it's just like, I could not stand it. I just like the scenes, both of them were really obnoxious. Although the couple I was in the theater with thought they were fucking hysterical in this movie. I didn't. Every time they were on the screen, I didn't laugh one bit. I'm trying to think. Well, there were jokes also that I did like. Even jokes that... There was even a joke that was basically copy and pasted from the first movie and put it in this one, which was the Anchorman, or the Anchorman. There's an Anchorman fight at the end of the movie, like in the first movie, with like weapons and stuff like that. Like Anchorman from like different channels and stuff like that pop up at the end. And that, the best part about that scene was not the jokes, but the cameos, the people that they got in this fucking movie. And that's one of the cool things about this movie, is some of the cameos. Early on, you get like Harrison Ford pops up at the beginning of the movie. Greg Kinnear's in this fucking movie. And then, like, during the Anchorman battle, I'm going to start naming off. I'm sorry I'm going into spoilers, but if you don't want to know who makes cameos at the end as Anchorman of different news channels, don't watch this. Jim Carrey fucking pops up. Marion Cotillard pops up. Liam fucking Neeson pops up. Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Sacha Baron Cohen, and then and all those like cameos are really fun and really great. When they, oh, and fucking Will Smith. Will Smith pops up in this movie. Who the fuck would have guessed that? And then you get one cameo, and I'm like, really? That was a pretty weak cameo. It was Kanye West. Really? He plays like an MTV news broadcast guy, and I'm like, fuck. And he should never fucking try to act in his entire life. He's really bad at it. Let's put it that way. His cameo was pretty bad. It was the only downside of that cameo, and it was kind of funny. Or in that scene was whenever Kanye West would pop up. That was actually a pretty memorable scene. I liked that part. That was probably one of the best parts of the movie. I also did like the storyline. The jokes I did like, it was like the storyline where halfway through the movie when Ron Burgundy goes blind, and it starts like a lot of the jokes that follow are just like how Ron Burgundy keeps fucking things up, and every time he fucks things up, he blames it because he's blind. Like, he'll talk about how like he's living in a lighthouse because he's blind, even though he knows he's living in a lighthouse. He just blames it on being blind, or the fact that he tells a story that he's like, I went to brush my teeth today, and I used, instead of grabbing a toothbrush, I grabbed a live lobster. They're like, well, you would feel that it's a live lobster. Like, I'm blind. It's like those jokes were kind of funny. I like that stuff. Although when they start, by that point in the movie, you're kind of like, okay, now they're just trying to find a reason to drag this movie on longer, because this movie, one of the faults of this movie is that it is way too long. It's almost 2 hours. It did not need to be 2 hours long. This movie does drag on a lot longer than it needed to, and putting the storyline that he's blind, he's literally blind for like 20 minutes, and then it's just back to normal. This movie, like I said, this movie just has the same faults. And this movie does, while there are jokes that I like, there's a lot of jokes that I just didn't like. Also, one of the jokes that I thought worked were the jokes that, like, I mentioned the one with Paul Rudd. He's talking about Robert Blake and O.J. Simpson. Another joke, like, those were jokes that were, like, passing jokes that were really funny, and if you kind of weren't paying attention, you would miss. Another joke that I thought was really funny and I laughed at was when at the beginning where Ron Burgundy gets fired from the news station, and he's at SeaWorld. He gets a job at SeaWorld, being one of the working at SeaWorld, being like the MC for a dolphin show, and the announcers at SeaWorld are introducing him, but at first they're announcing, oh, welcome to the San Diego SeaWorld Dolphin Show. That's being sponsored by BP, nature's best friend. That made me laugh. That line kind of made me laugh. I also kind of liked, one of the things I liked about this movie was that it was like a kind of nice biting satire on the news networks nowadays, and how they just report on crap and don't actually report on actual news, and that's kind of true. But like I said, the jokes. There's jokes in this movie that don't work. Particularly, the one thing that I can point out the most is that the scenes between Steve Carell and Kristen Wiig didn't work, and also, like I said, there was just jokes that didn't work or lines that I thought weren't that funny. That I don't. It had like kind of the same humor. Again, this movie had a lot of the same humor that the first one did. That just fucking hit and miss. If you liked it, to each his own. I thought it was just okay. I'm trying to think what else I could talk about. I think I'm forgetting something else, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Like I said, this movie does. When I mentioned about how it copy and pasted a lot of the same jokes, it does. Like everything, every like joke that was pretty famous from the first one, they had to copy and paste. Like I said, the news anchor fight at the end is copied from the first one. There's also a part where Ron Burgundy's playing the flute, because you remember that from the first one. It's like there's no point to a lot of that shit. Like other than the news anchor one, which actually worked. The other ones kind of didn't. I thought the ones that other ones other than the news anchor ones didn't work as well. News anchor fight. I mean, I'm trying to. I'm running out of things to talk about, so I guess I'll get off here. Oh, before I forget, I'm going to talk about something. The cheap movie theater that I was at before the movie started played a really fucking bizarre. Anybody who lives in this area and has been to Encore Cinema, I want to know or anybody around the nation that has seen this fucking advertisement. They played this advertisement for like a please silence your cell phone instead of like doing like a normal just please silence your cell phone. They played this video of a fucking old lady baking cookies or something, I don't fucking know, and talking down to the audience like a normal grandmother would, and then but at the same time also showing all she's telling you all this stuff like please silence your cell phone, please be courteous, don't talk, stuff like that, showing close-ups of her licking her lips, and it's fucking disgusting. It makes no sense. What the fuck is what the fuck was that? I'm just sitting there going, my cheap theater had never put that in front of any movie before until now, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm just like, what the fuck was that? I was just sitting there, I was baffled. I was really, really baffled by that. And I'm like, I wish I could find a copy of that online. Maybe there is. I'm gonna find that out. I'm gonna try to find a copy of that and post that online. That is fucking bizarre. It was really bizarre, and the fuck, I don't get it. But anyways, I'm gonna get off here, and I'll be back tomorrow with I think August Osage County. I want to go see maybe if I might change my mind in 24 hours and decide to go see Lone Survivor, but it's probably gonna be August Osage County. I'll be back with one of those two, and I'll talk to you guys later.